But again, we're talking about things that someone with, I guess, high EQ and someone with good awareness does. And unfortunately, although there is still a movement towards us being more conscious and aware, I think it's still in the minority stages.
Hello and welcome to the Go Encourage podcast, where I talk to real people about real life, trying to gain some insights from their experiences building courage. Before we get started, I just want to encourage you to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It really helps the channel grow and it helps me to bring more guests onto the podcast. You can also do the same on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Amazon with a like and a follow. And if you're looking for links to social media channels, you can find them at www.goencourage.com. You can also grab a copy of the Courage Journal, which is a 31-day prompted journal designed to help you build courage in your life. All right, with all that said, let's bring on my next guest and let's see where the conversation goes. Hello, Anna, and welcome to the Go Encourage podcast. Really pleased that you're joining me today. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm excited too. Let's see where we go. All right. So the first thing I usually ask people is, what does your name mean? Do you know what your name means?
Do you know what? I haven't actually thought about this in a while, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but my name in Hebrew is from God.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we'll take that. That's got to be a good thing.
That's strong.
I'm not religious myself, but I am spiritual.
Right.
And that can only be a good thing, I think.
And when you say spiritual, you believe that there's something beyond the material world?
Exactly. So I believe that there's like a higher power at play. Me personally, I call it the universe or the creator, but you absolutely could call it God. I think we often think of God as having this religious connotation, and maybe when we use the word, universe or creator, it's slightly more spiritual, but there's, it's a different meaning for different people. And I think there's a massive overlap with those things, but very spiritual. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. We've got that from the name of the meaning of your name there. So I think when I looked it up as well, it's come from the word Hannah, from the name Hannah. Hannah means highly favored. So I don't know if you feel highly favored in your life.
I do. Is that really vain to say that? No. I do. Yeah, I feel it on a soul level.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel, I don't know if this would kind of tie in. I feel like I'm quite a strong manifester.
Right.
But do you know what? I feel like we're all connected to something bigger than ourselves. And I do genuinely think that the only difference is there's people who tune into that and there's people who don't.
Right.
And I don't necessarily think you're, more favored than I or vice versa, but it's those who tune in, listen more and get more of what they want and sort of become more, if you like, as a result.
Right. And what are those people? Look, we're going straight deep in,
right?
Right?
We're going straight in. You're like, what does your name mean? I'm like, I'm spiritual.
I'm spiritual.
Ask me only spiritual questions.
I love it though. It's good. It's good. Actually, you know what? We'll come back to it because there are a couple of things I wanted to ask you about spiritualism. So let's go with so you're Anna, gift from God. What was it? From God, did you say? And you grew up. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a city called Nottingham, which is known for Sherwood Forest and Robin Hood.
Oh, yeah.
And I was there for the first 18 years of my life. So I had...
Does everyone there like rob from the rich and give to the poor? Is it
everyone. There's Friar Tuck's on the pub down the road. No, it's a nice kind of middle of England type city, big university town. I didn't go to university there, but that's kind of one thing that it's known for. Fairly safe. I would say a nice upbringing in a suburban environment. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing too strange or startling.
Any siblings?
I do. I have two half brothers on my mother's side who are both older than me. I grew up with them for the first 7 years of my life, and then they actually went off to live with their dad. So people kind of say to me, are you an only child or were you an only child? And I kind of say yes, because a lot of my childhood I was it was just me.
Right.
7 up to 18. When I moved out, it was just myself, and they would kind of come back and forth a little bit, but predominantly it was just myself, my parents in the house. So I did feel like I was more of an only child.
Okay. Which kind of ties in with the you feel highly favored.
Oh, it does. Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay. So as a young girl, was there something that you particularly wanted to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a vet.
A vet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Love animals. Loved animals. Still love animals. Kind of forgot that being a vet meant you had to deal with blood and guts and things like that. And I think when I realized that, I think I was like, oh no, I'll have animals as pets.
Yes. Work in the zoo.
Work in the zoo, yeah.
Because my youngest, who I haven't said a name on camera before, but it's very similar to yours, very similar, and it means the same thing. And she wanted to be a vet. She wants to be a vet.
Yeah.
But actually, the advice that she was given was go work in a zoo if you like animals, because if you're a vet, you only ever see them in pain. You only ever see them with blood and, all the issues that you don't really want to see them with. So.
Oh, but it's such a wonderful career. And I think the other side of that is you see them getting better.
That's true.
But yeah, if she's anything like me, go work in a zoo.
Go work in a zoo.
Volunteer at a rescue centre, go work in a zoo.
Okay, so if we fast forward to today, what do you actually do? Do you work as a vet?
I do not work as a vet. I work as a psychotherapist, so completely different.
Right.
I work as a psychotherapist, which I absolutely love. Yeah, it's for me, it's just a wonderful career.
Right.
No regrets about going into it. Love it.
And how did you get from, being a young person, thinking about what you want to do with your life, and then go into the career that you're in now?
Totally. So a lot of people ask me this, and for me, when I was 18 and I was living in Nottingham, I was like, I just want to go to London. I was like, London's big and shiny and I need to go there. This is actually just before like the financial crash. I think it was in 2008.
Right.
When
the global recession, was it? Yeah.
When I was making the decision, it was kind of just before it was like bankers were king and like, everything was great. And London just was so appealing, like the glamour, how big and exciting it was. And I was like, what shall I do in London? I was like, what about fashion buying? At 18, no real kind of concept of what that meant. So I got into London School of Fashion and I studied fashion business from 2008 till 2011. And I came out of it and I realized I'm not going to be able to make any money in fashion. I'm going to be on a really low starting salary. I still want to live in London. I feel like this is a trap. So after that point, I ended up working in sales for an IT company. I mean, how on earth do you go from fashion buying to sales in an IT company?
Can I just say, though, with fashion, though, were you complimenting my shoes before?
I was.
And so you actually knew a little bit what you were talking about there. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I'll take that compliment.
Yeah, thank you very much.
IT, you were saying.
So, I went into sales where they just took on a load of graduates. They didn't care what you graduated in. They trained you up and off we went out into the world. So I would be in Canary Wharf in the city selling IT services to places like banks, in fact, and consultancy firms, kind of blue chip organizations. So I did that for 3 years. And then I left, joined another company. That company went under. And then I had a period of time where I was like, I don't know what to do. I then started, again, this is quite random, but so is my life, a recruitment company. Small recruitment company. Right. So I had
your own business.
Yeah. So I actually had a few contacts from working for the IT sales company that I worked for. And I had a few contacts. So I kind of utilized my network to do recruitment for various different organizations. So it's the power of who you know, right? So much of the time, who you know, not what you know. And then met my ex-partner. He was like, do you really want to be doing this? And I was like, I actually don't. What I really want to be doing is psychology. So then I retrained in psychology.
Right.
And that was, so I'm 34 today, and that was when I was 27.
Okay.
Retrained.
Oh, wow. Can I ask you, why did you want a psychology? What was it? Was it like a spark moment, or is it something that you've always been interested in?
So I've suffered my whole life with obsessive compulsive disorder.
Right.
And I had it, honestly, from my first memories. I had these like compulsions of things that I felt like I had to do. So we had a cellar. I don't know, very old fashioned house. We had a cellar in our cellar, in our basement. I don't know how to describe it. Under the house, basically. And every night I would have to go and check for monsters there. But it was like religiously. I couldn't sleep if I hadn't done it. I would have rituals where I would be obsessed with the number 4. I still like the number 4. Be obsessed with the number 4, and I'd have to sort of turn around 4 times or do something 4 times. And it was all these different things that were just stealing so much time from me. But as a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, I didn't know why I had to do them. I didn't know what OCD was. This is in the 90s as well. And, I don't think my parents were aware of any kind of mental health, really, ailments back in the day. And I certainly wasn't. And it was worrying and weird. And I knew I was different. So when I got to university, I sought help from therapy. And they were like, yes, you've got OCD. Classic OCD. Because as anyone with OCD knows, it doesn't go away on its own.
Right.
You got it. And not only have you got it, it gets worse.
Can I ask, with your memories of being that age?
Yeah.
Was there something? Did you see that in someone else, in a parent, or did it just come out of nowhere? They're like turning over 4 times and things like that.
Yeah, totally. I felt unsafe, and I don't mean in a physical sense. And I think, having hindsight now on the situation, what I can kind of identify is that my mum wasn't able to love me in the way I needed to be loved.
Right.
And that is no offense to her in any way, shape or form. Same with my dad. But it's from her mum. She was parenting the way that she knew.
Right.
And I felt like I still feel like I've got quite a sensitive soul, and I'm quite sensitive at the core.
Right.
And I guess I didn't feel as a child heard or maybe loved in the way I needed, which is completely unfair. And it's not about her, but it's just how it's not about the parent at all. And I just want to stress that, but it's just about me being the way I was.
Sure.
And I developed OCD as a coping mechanism. So I didn't necessarily feel emotionally safe. So in order to feel safe, my body, my soul, if you like, created obsessive compulsive disorder. If I do this ritual, I will make sure I'm safe. It's looking for certainty.
Sure.
And not being able to deal with uncertainty. That plays a massive part as well. And I see this a lot play out with clients. So yeah, a lot of us who have anxiety, if you have OCD tendencies, you will always have anxiety with that.
Right.
If you're an anxious person and you have anxiety, you won't necessarily have OCD.
Gotcha.
So it's almost like an offshoot from that. So I was certainly an anxious kid, and the way in which I coped with it was to develop OCD.
Right.
And I think that the anxiety stemmed from my mum's maybe just not quite loving me the way I needed, not showing me the love the way I needed, and her mum didn't show her the love the way she needed that.
Sure.
So it's kind of that knock-on effect, really. And only through training as a psychotherapist and being very interested in different modalities and healing modalities particularly have I been able to see that.
Yeah. Wow. And there's quite a lot in that. And, one of the things that I'll draw out is the things that get passed down generation to generation. Because, until you, like, let's say if you plan to have kids in the future as well, if you don't deal with it at your stage of life, then that has the potential to be passed down to your offspring as well. And then the cycle continues. So at some point in the chain, someone needs to go, okay, I need to deal with this,
Totally. And I think that's a big thing for me at the moment is like, okay, let's heal, not try. I hate to use the word try because it's do or do not, right? So let's heal these traumas that have plagued you really from from day one. And you're right, you know, a lot of it is historic, genetic, DNA. It can actually be passed down in the DNA. It's also to do with it can also be to do with how you were in the womb.
Right.
There's all these different kind of elements that can play in. So certainly something that's really important to me, particularly at the moment.
Okay. All right. Something else in that as well is just it was a coping mechanism for you.
It was totally a coping mechanism.
And so if you, switch on a light a particular number of times, go downstairs, check for monsters and things like that, your brain is saying, in all the chaos, I've actually created some certainty, I think was the word that you used.
Yes.
And then out of certainty comes calmness and freedom, because then things are not so chaotic up here. And so then I can progress forward with things.
Yeah, I've taken agency of the situation. I've developed these methods that now, having done them, I feel safe. But of course, as we know, what happens is that pattern or that loop just gets stronger. So it's like, okay, I'm temporarily satisfied. And then say the next day, my anxiety is up again. And the brain goes, okay, well, in order to neutralize your anxiety, here we go again with the checking, the monsters aren't there, with the 4 times doing various things. And then what ends up happening is that becomes not enough. So it adds to it. Yeah. So, before long, it's like you're spending 5 hours doing different rituals. I've got some clients who will come to me in the beginning of therapy and it's taking them like 2-3 hours to leave the house.
Yeah.
All the checking.
Yeah. I know.
Did I check? Didn't I check? Doubting self.
Yeah, it's a self-doubt as well, which is fear related.
Yeah.
And then the checking is usually fear related as well, because you feel like you have to be the one who is able to solve this problem before you can move forward. When I had quite chronic anxiety and panic attacks way back, one of the things that I had to do was just make sure my water bottle's filled, before I leave the house, plan my journey, know exactly where I'm going and things like that. And any deviation from that was like panic
throw
mode.
You off, right?
Okay, let's try again next week. It's kind of,
it's all ruined.
It's like, so some of these things for people who haven't experienced them or haven't been around people that experience them, they might seem like silly things, but actually they take such a hold on your life, moment to moment, which is really tough.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it's the amount of headspace. It's not just the physical action. It's the amount of headspace it takes up. And also if you do have chronic anxiety or OCD, it can bleed out into other things as well. You can develop like eating disorders is quite a common one. Again, we're talking about control. Yeah. Another thing I can control is how much food I consume, how much exercise I do. Yeah. Okay, well, I've, in a environment where I can't control, I have honed in on things which for me, I feel like I can control. So I now feel safer. Yeah. But, the person is just doing what they can to cope. But they're not sort of seeing how, well, they do eventually, but they're not seeing how detrimental that is in the long term. Or they are, and they can't stop it because the urge for safety and the need to control is so strong. It is it's coming from our fight and flight sense, right? Our ability to stay alive. That's where it's coming from, but it's just misplaced. Right.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because then you're in this zone, aren't you, here with your fight and your flight.
At the back, the emotional side is how the emotional part of your brain is housed here as well.
Absolutely.
Whereas the logic is at the front, the frontal cortex, and the logical part it's slower because it takes time to process things and think about things. It's more advanced, but it's slower. So when your emotional part of your mind is activated, the logical part actually shuts off. So when you're really triggered and you feel like, God, go do this compulsion, if we take OCD as an example, well, logic just doesn't have a word in edgeways because it's actually shut down. So, there's various things that we can do, but I think just understanding that is like, okay, yes, you feel like that in the moment, but that's because you don't actually have a logical mind in the moment. Your logical mind is off. It's like a computer. It's completely shut down. Yeah. And you have to, wait until that gets back online. And once that's back online, you go, okay, hang on, don't need to do that. I shouldn't be doing that. It's not for the interest of my best and highest self to do that.
Yeah, totally.
But it's it is tough. Yeah,
it is tough. And then with education, with understanding things, we start to get to the frontal part quite quicker and saying, oh, I'm going to turn the computer on. Actually, I'm noticing that I'm working from here or here, but actually I want to turn this on now. And there are ways that, there's so many different ways that you can do that, and they're different for different people. But when you're, in those situations where the chaos is all around you, I think it's really important. And I know this is different for each person, but it's important to realize that I am operating out of fear.
Yes.
And when you've got that key, like, oh, this is fear. I need to either step through the fear, embrace the fear. They talk about embracing your shadow side, or they talk about, I was going to make a Robin Hood reference, but I can't think of one. But like, get your sword, go and face the dragon, that sort of thing. It's the only real way through it. Otherwise, you're trying to do things to make yourself feel better, but not really dealing with what it is that's, holding you down.
Definitely. So there's the dealing with the behavior in the moment. So there's tackling that. And then there's also the underlying belief programs that are playing or, on autoplay that are keeping this fear, like you say, alive, which is then pushing you towards said behavior.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I love how we've got here.
Yeah, I don't know where we are, but I love wherever we are.
So I'm going to throw a few questions at you about your personality, if that's okay. All right. So first one's really nice and easy, I think. Favorite food?
Do you know what? I know. I was thinking about this earlier as I was driving here. It is literally anything I'm not allowed to have. So I did some tests recently on a health retreat, and I am intolerant. I already knew this already to gluten. And since I found out, I have developed an unrelenting love of bread. Like before that, I was like, someone was like, you go out for dinner and they'd be like, have bread on the table. I'd be like, meh. Now I'm like, give me all the bread. I like to have another loaf. So yeah,
so stuff you're not allowed to have.
Yeah, so I'm not allergic to gluten, but I do have an intolerance, so I do try and greatly reduce it.
Right.
So I love warm sourdough with salt and olive oil. Oh.
Nice.
Also, chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake.
We're on a theme here. I feel it's like foods that kind of like expand in your tummy and make you feel really full. I love that feeling.
Yeah.
Most people are like, I hate feeling bloated. I'm like, I love feeling bloated. I want to feel really, really full forever.
Hold on, give me a second. Cancel the pizzas.
Yeah, it's a Domino's at the door. Exactly. I'll have them.
But on that point though, like we can't eat anything, like once you start watching people and listening to it, you can't eat nothing.
I know.
There's this one guy, I can't remember his name, and he goes, and he's in his 50s, and he's got like this amazing bodybuilder build, and whatever the grammatical sentence that I can't get out is. Yeah. And he goes around. He's hench. Thank you. That's a nice, easy way to put it. And he just goes into shops and he just picks up stuff and he just shows you all the bad stuff in there. And these are things that you think are good for you, and you're like, oh, I don't want to watch anymore because now I can't eat anything. Just stick to water.
Stick to water. Yeah, literally stick to water. I know, it's impossible, isn't it? It's like you feel like finally found something that's healthy. No one's got any reels on it saying how dangerous and carcinogenic and everything else it is, and then it's like, okay, a week later that's shut down. You've seen something.
Scroll
You've
quickly.
seen something. Yeah, it's just like, do not eat this, forever chemicals. Don't.
Yeah, he said something about bread actually, and he was talking about all the ingredients in bread, and he's like, bread has 4 ingredients. And you're like, yeah, it kind of does, yeah. And all the rest of it is preservatives and trying to, make it last longer.
Well, I think, bread is like one of the oldest foods, right? They had it, again, please don't quote me, but 1,000 years ago, or at least hundreds of years ago, if not, maybe not 1,000, hundreds of years ago.
Someone can fact check us if they want to.
Yeah, don't fact check on that. Or please do and let me know. But, we're going to go with hundreds. And I think, now it's like they add in so much, like what you were saying, so many preservatives, the way in which the gluten is kind of produced, that's the problem, I think, which is why sourdough is much cleaner, the way it's produced. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it probably was something which for most of us would have been okay, but the way in which it's churned and made, and there's so many of us, mass produced, it's not great.
All right, sourdough clean eater.
Sourdough queen. I'm like, oh, I might new Instagram.
I mean, you
handle.
like chocolate cakes, so
I do.
That cancels it out.
I know.
I'll tell you the best cake, right, is Wagamama's. Hold on. I know it's a bit like
curveball.
Yes, proper curveball.
Curveball.
Wagamama's white chocolate and ginger cheesecake. It's out of this world. It's so good.
Is it sponge-like?
Not really. It's kind of got this biscuity base, and it's.
I need to go to Wagamama's immediately.
It's so good.
Can we finish soon, please?
Yeah, let's go. All right, cancel the podcast. We're going to Wagamama's. All right, next question: iPhone or Android?
Oh, iPhone.
iPhone all the way.
I'm a slave to the iPhone.
We'll leave it there. Preferred clothing choice? Oh, because you were like, University of Fashion. You said London. What was it?
London College of Fashion.
College of Fashion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it says on the tin. I do like smart casual.
Mm-hmm.
I do like kind of something quite figure hugging, fairly smart. Love gym wear as well.
Gym wear.
That's because if I'm in it, I'm going to the gym.
Because you feel active.
Yeah. I wore it to work the other day and just put my coat over. Not very professional. I had a very professional coat on though, because I thought if I've got the gym outfit on, I will go to the gym. Right. Whereas if I've got to change, that's a barrier for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a hassle, isn't it?
Yeah. So gym for practicality, smart casual for everything else.
Okay, that's cool. That's fair. Favorite place?
San Diego, California.
You're going to San Diego soon, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I'm going shortly I'm actually going to a psychology retreat. In a few weeks' time. So I'm doing that. And then I lived there briefly in 2016. So I have some friends there. So we're going to go and hang out. As well as San Diego, I'm going to go to Sedona in Arizona.
Oh.
Which, circling back to the spiritual stuff, is a spiritual energy center, vortex, place of amazingness. So I'm going to be doing some manifesting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
This
exciting.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Because Natalie, who was on episode, 13, I think, of the podcast, is out in California. So maybe you guys need to have a chat, and she's a psychotherapist as well.
Yeah, maybe.
And then Kat was talking about Sedona in Arizona and how she's not from there, but she's kind of
she's gonna go visit and do some work.
I mean, my geography is terrible. I think everything in the Americas is all close together, but it's not, is it?
I know.
But yeah, that'd be really interesting. It'd be really interesting to see podcast guests get together and connect and
we'll
stuff like
exchange
that.
details.
Yeah, I'll send you some stuff. That'd be really cool. Yeah. Okay, all right. Wow. Okay, spiritual vortex and stuff. That's kind of like I don't even know what to say. Do you want to say a little bit about that? Neither do I. Come back and let us know what happened.
I will. No, I will. Do you know what I'm going to be? I practice Theta healing, which is
I'll just drop that in. Yeah, I just practice a bit of Theta healing.
You're digging.
I am digging.
Which is originally, it was developed. It's not that old. It's from 1995, and it's from a lady called Vienna Steibel, and she is American. She does a lot of her training in Hawaii, which is also a spiritual vortex. And she has a lot of people who train on her behalf because she can't train everyone. There's loads of us now. So she has a lot of people train on her behalf. So I've trained part of it. I am a qualified practitioner, but I'm going to do my second stage next week. So circling back round again, I'm going to be doing some of that work when I'm in Sedona and just tuning in really to myself and figuring out kind of any blocks that are holding me back from the person that I want to be, and just continuing to work through traumas. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'll do that through meditation. Okay. Yeah. And when I work with my clients in either a one-to-one or a group setting, we also incorporate that into the work as well.
Into psychotherapy.
Yeah.
That's two different modalities coming together.
Yeah, two different kind of streams of being, I guess. One, the traditional psychology route, and another, the energy healing route. Now, although the practice that I mentioned there was created in 1995, it actually speaks to a much older, I guess, religion and practice. Healers have been around since the beginning of time. Doctors weren't around, dentists weren't around, but you would have in a tribe, oh, go to see this guy or this lady. She's they'd have all different names, wouldn't they? I don't know what, that voodoo doctor or something. They'd have all these crazy names, but they're a healer. So it's really been around since the beginning. So I feel like we've kind of, as a society, almost come full circle, that we're now bringing healing modalities much more back into our journey, our mental health, our physical, our spiritual journey as beings. We're bringing that in, and people are really, really seeing the benefits of that. I think all the traditional psychology has its place, but for me, the combination of the two is really, really powerful, because ultimately we're a soul in a human body. So if you can kind of deal with the traditional psychology can kind of deal with the society and the human body that we're in and the way we're living, and then probably the healing and the more spiritual side deals with the soul element. So when you've got those two things combined, it can be, and it is, really powerful.
Yeah. Where the overlap is. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So much I could ask.
I know, so many. Where do we go with this? Wagamamas. That's where we go with this.
Yeah, a bit of waggers.
Yes.
Do you believe in star signs?
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Straight on.
What's your star sign?
Scorpio.
Scorpio. All right. So November
16.
Oh, November. I'm November as well, but Sagittarian. So
yeah, you're just on the other side.
Yeah.
I do believe in star signs. I think they can be, a little bit nondescript possibly, but if you're interested in them, things like human design is fabulous for that. I'm not an expert, so please don't start asking me loads of human design questions.
Human design?
Yeah. Who founded it? Who created it? How long's it been around? But it's kind of, it takes things like your time of birth, where you were born.
Oh yeah.
And it maps out. Yeah. And there's you can be like things called like a projector or a manifester. Personality types as well. It takes that on board.
Archetypes and stuff.
Archetypes, exactly, and takes that on board. So I think that's just kind of the evolution of what's your star sign. But yes, I'm a Scorpio, and I think I am a Scorpio as well in terms of traits.
Give us top 3 sort of
Very
traits.
jealous.
Very jealous.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's my top 3 because it's so strong. 1, 2, and 3. It's very jealous.
So if I'm sitting here eating that chocolate cake that you like, you're just like,
Yeah, planning your death. It's do you know what? It's something I'm working on, but yeah, certainly, like, I think from childhood and not quite feeling enough, I think that has exacerbated the feeling of not being enough, which has manifested as jealousy, solely in relationships.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, so not in like friendship groups and things like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Just in relation. It's very specific. It's very specific to romantic partners for me. And do I get jealous in friendship groups? I would say occasionally it kind of flitters in as an emotion.
Sure.
But it's certainly not the strength that it has in romantic relationships.
You ever read that book, Attached?
I have.
Yeah. Okay.
Really good. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
I'm anxious avoidant.
Okay. Anxious avoidant.
What are you?
Anxious secure.
Yeah.
So just on that.
Are you mostly secure and then with anxious tendencies?
I'm a work in progress.
Oh, we all are. We all are, as a given.
Yeah, I think probably anxious, but then working towards the secure. And I think, again, with education, with knowing yourself and working out where you sit, because I think a lot of people are just scared to figure out where they're at. They just deny things, where I kind of embrace things. So if someone says, hey, you're this, I'm like, okay, let's take that concept and apply it to my characteristic and see if there's some truth in that. And if there isn't, then okay, see you later. And if there is some truth in it, then okay, let's work on that. Let's see, how we can take a step into the right direction and things like that. So I think I'm way more secure than I've ever been. But to answer your question, coming from that perspective,
yeah, nice. So I was reading that 25% of people have been able to, on a recent study, have been able to change their attachment style
Mm-hmm.
through, I guess, repeatedly, obviously acknowledging what they're doing, but also pattern interrupts over and over again, and just being able to use some of that self-discipline to really kind of distance themselves from the event and have that agency over how they act.
Absolutely.
When they're triggered. So I was actually trying to think, is 25% a lot or not a lot? Because 75% can't, but I kind of took that as, so many of us are, I guess at least in our circles, are aware of what attachment styles are. But I guess if we're talking more on a global scale, I would say still a lot of people aren't. And just because if you're aware of it, you really have to put a lot into I'm going to change.
Absolutely.
And one of the best ways in which to change is to be with someone who is secure. So as an anxious avoidant, I would then want to kind of be with someone, and I guess we all would to a point, who's secure, who can then kind of like show me the way, and be kind of like, this way, this is what they're doing. Not sure what would be in it for the secure person, but for me it'd be great.
I have thought about this in the past.
Why would I go with an anxious avoidant when I can go with a secure?
Because one of the stats that I read was most people, when I say most, actually that's not quite correct, about 50%, 40 to 50% at the time of reading are quite securely attached. And you think, wow, that's a huge number. But that means 25% are anxiously attached and around 25% are avoidantly attached, right? And so we need you secure people. We need you guys to kind of pave the way. And then if you break down that percentage, those secure people are not secure because they're just secure. A whole bunch of them are secure because their parents have done the work, or their carers, or however their family dynamics are. But then a whole bunch of them have been either one of the others, but they've done the work, like you said, to move into the secure zone. But I think you're absolutely right. Most of the world, this is going to sound a bit harsh, but just from my understanding, are not bothered. Like they've got they've got bills to pay, they've got jobs to go to, they've got
mouths to feed. My attachment style is falling down there.
In terms of priority, right? Like Friday night I want to go for a drink and I want to like let my hair down, and then I want to struggle on Monday morning when I want to watch my soap operas, and I want to watch my Netflix, and I want to binge watch this and all that. And I'm not judging, that's not, but I broke out that cycle a few years ago, and I was like, this is literally just consuming my life, and someone else is designing my life for me. And I don't want that, because there's so much power in switching off the TV. There's so much power in going for a walk. There's so much power in meditation, prayer, things that take you into a place where you're present, as opposed to just, being, and I'm going all over the place.
Being on autopilot. I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? And so I think that could be one of the reasons why a lot of people don't make the leap into secure attachment, because there's so many other things that are just distracting them.
Yeah. Or they kind of go, oh yeah, I'm anxious. And then that's it. They go about their daily life again.
Or the other side of the coin, they go, oh, no, I'm not. No. And then they get all defensive, and they just stay in defense mode until they're in retirement.
It's the other person's fault. It's the other person's fault. It's like, well, I think another thing, a lot of secure people end up kind of staying in relationships, particularly if they're both secure and kind of, I guess, worked on themselves. Not always, absolutely not always, but a lot of them do have these long-term relationships, which kind of ends up being us in the rest of the pool. We're all anxious, avoidant, like kind of bumbling around, meeting each other and this kind of stuff. And sadly as well, people sometimes with, say, either anxious or avoidant attachment styles can see secure as boring.
Right, yeah.
Because they don't kind of, I guess, what's the word? Or what's the wording? They're stable, and I'm saying let me distance from that. Whoa, don't drag me into not we. They over there are used to chaos. Because if you've got an anxious attachment style, you probably have a level of chaos in your life. Chaos attracts chaos. So you gravitate towards that. We will always choose familiar chaos.
Absolutely.
Over unfamiliar calm.
Yeah.
So, the secure person might be like, well, I've just been me. I've been really present, and I've asked to take her out and help her with stuff. And we're like, ugh, yawn. He's too available. I want aloof. I want something that doesn't want me, and I want to chase him, and then I want him, and then I want to be anxious about where he is and what he's doing and why he hasn't texted me back. That's what I want.
Where's the mystery? Where's the passion?
Yeah,
where's the
Well, you say passion, I think, because we interpret mystery and aloof and standoffish and not really bad boy as passion.
Yeah.
And the poor secure person is going, but I can offer her or him everything.
Yeah, I've done the work.
We're going, ugh, boring.
Yeah.
No.
It's why they say the
chaos.
nice guys don't get anywhere, but the bad boys do, because they're the ones who are providing those things that you're saying there. Yeah. But what's interesting is, this is turned into a relationship series.
I know.
But what's interesting is when I've spoken to women, so I've done a panel in the past where we've had women speak to a whole bunch of guys and talk about what they want. And it's really interesting because they want safety, they want security, but when it's presented to them, they don't want it because there's no passion there. There's no drama, there's no excitement, so it's really interesting.
There's a lot of they can't see me on screen, but there's a lot of conflicting things in our lives, which is why something called parts work is quite good. How you can internal family systems, it's a modality where you can marry the parts together. But again, we're talking about things that someone with, I guess, high EQ and someone with good awareness does, and unfortunately, although there is still a movement towards us being more conscious and aware, I think it's still in the minority stages. And I think there are men and women who are moving more into that realm, but I do think it's still more few and far between. And I think so many of us, myself included, like, we're in our heads all the time, but we're not just a head, we're also a body. So it's kind of like, how does something make you feel? Okay, it was tight in my chest or my shoulders, or like resentment is kind of in my belly, and just really tuning in with how something makes you feel. And you can do this with your partner. Well, it's great to do this with your partner as well, because it just strengthens the connection. Like all of this stuff is bonding and strengthening of a connection, and like things can be worked through. And I think, that real growth mindset, particularly in relationships, where, look, this is my opinion, but I am open to seeing other sides of the coin. Like I'm not it's not a fixed mindset where it's like, this is my opinion and this is it.
Totally.
And I think anywhere where that starts to come in, you're
and I think if you're really let's say you're a religious person, and you are, this is what I believe, this is what's written, and that's my golden temple, that's like my foundation, that's great. Like, I don't have any problem with that. But when you're interacting with someone, we have to realize that everyone has free will. Everyone has their own value system, everyone has their own beliefs. And I think conversations where you're pushing your agenda or pushing what you believe onto other people isn't really helpful. But when you're talking to people about their experiences, and that's part of why Going Courage is what it is I'm really interested in people's experiences. Sometimes I get people asking me, oh, you had someone on the podcast that was talking about this really wacky topic, and I don't believe in that. I'm like, well, you don't, good for you. Do you believe in that? Well, not really, but it was really interesting and really insightful. And I think when we can have those kinds of connections, we can be really authentic, and there's safety and there's space for people to express themselves. And I think that's a sign of a healthy, functioning society, whereas I think what happens at the moment, or what seems to be happening, is greater polarization. And you could pick any topic: football teams, politics, gender, whatever you want to talk about, pro-life, all the rest of it. It's just polarizing. And then when you're against each other all the time, you're operating from a place of fear. And then when you're operating from a place of fear, we're back into that chaos cycle again. Yeah, my little monologue there.
I agree.
Okay. Are you spiritual? Do you believe in God?
Yeah, we have touched upon that. And yes, I am spiritual. Look, we've all got different names for what we believe in. I call mine the universe, the creator. I contact that energy force, if you will, in Theta meditation, and I absolutely love that. And it's really shown me guidance, shown me areas where I need to heal. I've used it for manifesting. Yeah, I definitely believe that there's something bigger than ourselves. I think, look, again, please don't quote me, but I think it's like, what are we, 200 billion solar systems or something within that we know of. Okay, well, the likelihood of there not being any energy around just is, that's not a thing. So if we've got all of these different planets, these different solar systems and stars, of course that there's an abundance of energy. So I believe that we are able to harness and tap into that energy.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. I'm spiritual. And I would say more so as I get older. I would certainly say in my 20s I wasn't. I was like, oh God, absolutely not. But then I started to, my first kind of encounter with the more spiritual side was to see various psychics.
Oh.
And what I have found is that, and at least this is my belief, now this might not be everyone else's, which is fine, but we have power over our own destiny. So if I was to do you a future reading now, absolutely some of that stuff might come true, but I would just be doing it sort of 6 months to a year out, because if I saw something that wasn't for the interest of your best and highest self, you have the power to shift and to change where you're going.
Okay.
So I don't subscribe to the fact that our future is, absolutely
like
mapped out, to the T. I believe that there's sort of a path, but we also have agency within that path, and I think that that's a good thing as well. I think we really can steer the ship of our own of our own life. If we don't like something, we have the power to change the course.
Yeah, I'm with you. I also subscribe to the idea that everything's not predestined. I think destiny is something, it's a big word, and I think people have different meanings to it. But I think we are free will beings, and we have the power to change the direction that we want to go in.
Yeah.
Some of it has limits that are out of our control. I would that's just where I sit. But I think there's a whole untapped potential of limitless stuff as well, if that makes sense. My words are not coming out, but what I'm trying to say is, I think, for me to say I'm going to go and put my Superman cape up and fly around the planet a couple of times, maybe
see that.
I don't know, that would be cool.
I'd be out there with my iPhone. Zoom.
Do you know what? That's actually might have been my dream since I was a little boy. Yeah.
To fly.
Oh. No, not just fly. With the Superman
with the Superman outfit.
With the
obviously,
big
I'm not an idiot. Basic, just flying.
I'm just going to go with my jean shirt.
Wait, does the Superman outfit have his pants on over his trousers?
Well,
are they leggings or trousers? They're like leggings, aren't they? And he has those red pants on.
It's like a gym outfit.
No, don't try and make. No, it's it's knickers.
No.
It's big knickers over leggings. Let's not tart it up. That's literally what it is.
Don't upset
He wears
me.
it well.
You know how you love your French bulldog?
Who's Superman?
Well,
he's quite hot.
I mean, Henry Cavill was Superman.
Yeah.
But they've got a new Superman now. So they start filming next year. Listen, this is a topic that I could talk for hours on. So we've got to work. So Superman's my thing.
Watch it, rein it in.
Yeah. I got to rein it in. What were we talking about? I can't even remember now. Oh yeah, flying, whatever, limitlessness. Superman now.
The limitlessness of life.
What I'm trying to say is, we have the power to choose the direction that we go in.
Choose the flight path.
And we could be flight path. Yeah, we could. We could choose to be a villain. We could choose to be a hero. We could choose to, like, in any given moment. And I don't believe that you're the hero for every moment or the villain for every moment, because everyone.
We can be good and bad.
Yeah, there's
good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah.
All of it.
I always wanted to be the good person in everyone's story, but then you have some life experiences and you realize, that's operating out of fear again.
Yeah.
That's not really going to work. But yeah, we have the ability to choose what we want to do, and we have free will beings, and so we can go in that direction. But coming back to the God stroke universe connection energy, I used to think it was just a load of
me too.
And then when I started getting into it, you said as well, when you're in your 20s, I think if you cut yourself off to experiences and go purely on theology or rationale, you're not going to get very far, because it only operates in one dimension. Whereas if you go into, or at least you're open to experience the spiritual dimension, then I think incredible things can happen. And I've seen them, and I've experienced them, and my experiences will be very different from yours. But I think there's a real beautiful connection when we can start to share those experiences and start to see patterns and things like that.
I agree. No, totally. And I think, again, it's like that growth mindset, isn't it? It's keeping that channel or door open to. It's not something I believe in, but I'm open to something potentially changing my mind, you know, and it's just kind of having that across the board.
Yeah. And again, words mean different things to people. So you could say, I've had a reading about something that's going to happen in the future. And someone in the religious context could say, I've had a prophecy about something that's going to happen in the future. And you get these little downloads from God, from energy, and you're able to see things from source, and you're able to see things that don't make actual sense, but then they happen and you go, I can't explain that away. That's not something I can
totally. And I think particularly with things like manifesting, I think people really get stuck on the how. Okay, well, I want to do this, but how? And it's like, if you manifest correctly and if you have an unrelenting belief, your actions will start to move in accordance with that direction. The universe will meet you there, and they will show you a way that you couldn't have thought of, because it's outside of your creative centers in that moment. So you're going, but how? And the universe will all open up a channel and you go, that's how. So I think, you know, particularly for manifesting, don't get fixed on the how.
Yes. Yeah. Totally agree.
All you need is your why.
Yeah, because that's what we all chase. How do I do this? How do I build a YouTube channel? How do I build this? How do I build it? It's like, no.
Little steps. Yeah. What's the step in front of me?
Yeah. What's happening right now?
Step 20 is time, because you'll be different when you get to step 20, and things will open up that aren't currently in your universe because they're not meant to be here yet.
Yeah, I agree. My sister said to me recently, she's like, you're so patient. You're like one of the most patient people I've ever met in my life, right? And, you know, obviously had to counteract that with some banter and say, well, you haven't met very many people in life. But when I started to think about it, growing up, I was so impatient. I was so impatient. But the only reason I've got to where I've got to now is all the horrible experiences. Well, I say horrible. Tough, let's say tough lessons, right? And it's what you learn from them going through it all. And now something that would have triggered me 10 years ago is like nothing today. But that doesn't happen like that. So it kind of ties in with what you're saying. You know, we think about the how I can get past something, but actually if you're just present in what's going on now, make those micro decisions, by the time you get to that level, you're like, oh yeah, I can handle this. This is nothing, you know.
Totally. And I think that's such an important word in the day and age in which we live in, presence.
Yeah.
I think it's such a compliment when, and look, I haven't had it as a compliment yet, but when people say you're really present, or person X is present, they have great presence. They're in the moment. Because I think it's such a skill, and I think the society we live in does everything it can to pull us out of that present moment. Because it's not money making to be in the present moment.
No, it's not.
It's money making to be thinking about what you're going to eat now, what you're going to buy now, what holiday you're going to go on, what hotel you're going to book. And it's that, and doom scrolling and TikTok. You know, these like companies are like, ha ha ha. You know, we cash in on the fact that people sit for hours on TikTok and then have no motivation, because guess what? Their dopamine's been depleted. But our marketing and our advertising sales are through the roof. Yeah. And I think it is such a skill, and I think I'm a big one for like teach it in schools. Yes. Teach it in schools. I agree. And also meditation doesn't have to be like, again, I'm probably projecting, it doesn't have to be boring where you sit still for 20 minutes or half an hour and you just focus on your breath. Like, there's lots of different, more fun stuff you can do. Go up and manifest, ask for downloads, like embrace it, enjoy it, you know. Look internally at what's going on, and maybe areas that you need to work on a physical level, on a mental level, on a spiritual level. It can be intentional meditation. And these skills and being more present and things like that, like they have that butterfly effect. You know, it really is like so beneficial for people, for kids. And
I agree.
In a world that just wants the opposite of that, or a society that is set up to promote not being present. Yeah.
And it's the, you know, the industrial revolution, you know, sort of technological revolution and things like that. They've taken humanity to a place of just constant information. And then you go on holiday and you sit by the beach, or you go to, we went to Ireland recently and sat by a mountain, and it's like, oh, this feels amazing. Why does it feel so amazing? And it's like, yeah, this is what human life was like before. But we're so bombarded with information that now we're just switched on all the time, you know.
We weren't built for that.
We weren't, no.
Like, we weren't like, as human beings, like, we're not, our bodies, our brains are not wired to take to live in the way in which we live. So it's like, yeah, when you go to a mountain, like, you feel great, right? Because your nervous system is like, oh my God, I can breathe. Like, you know, I love swimming in open lakes or like the sea. I hate the cold, but I love the sea as opposed to like a chlorinated pool. Don't get me wrong, like, I'll go in a nice pool, but like, you know, but in comparison, like, I genuinely love, like, you know, Hampstead Heath Pond or like a lake, or because it just, you feel connected with the universe and connected with the earth. And we were designed for that.
Yeah, I went to India when I was about 17, and it was the first time I'd been. I think I went when I was 2, but I don't remember it. And there's something about it, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was, and it was amazing. It was so good. And then when it was only a few years later when I started to really reflect, and it was just the lifestyle, or at least where we went. I can't speak for the whole of this massive country, right?
Yeah.
But people were just present. You know, you'd eat together. It was quite a simplistic life. And, you know, you'd talk, you'd get around a little campfire at night time and things like that. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is kind of like actual connection, actual bonding, as opposed to, you know, emails. And I think it was MSN Messenger back in those days.
Oh, I remember
or whatever.
MSN. Just have to dial up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wait for that dial up. But yeah, I think, you know, I think that's what people are now. I think you alluded to it earlier on in the conversation. People are starting to go back that way and start to look at spiritualism and look at meditation and look at prayer as a way of actually reconnecting with ourselves
and in-person
our
communities,
creator.
Right? As opposed to, it's like we've never been more connected, but we've never been lonelier as a society.
Yeah. Because some of these tribes would say, "What's anxiety?" I don't understand.
Yeah, well, you know, in the Western world, our mental health is far lower than it. Anxiety, depression is far higher. Our mental health is far worse than it is in places like India. To be honest,
absolutely.
In the East.
Totally. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Introvert, extrovert. Where would you say you sit on that spectrum?
So, growing up as predominantly an only child, I am a absolute introvert. But what I will say is, when I get around people, and particularly people with like either a similar energy or like a group scenario, I am such an extrovert.
Okay. So it draws you out.
Yeah. I have these almost like spurts of energy. Spurts, what was it called? Spurts of energy where I just am like on fire and like probably say stupid things, blah blah blah, but that's fine because it's me. And then I need to have like a day or 2 days just completely alone,
right,
to neutralize, to bring the levels back up. I don't know if that answers your question, but I would say at heart I'm an introvert, but I do have I have extrovert tendencies.
Sure.
And I was looking into it. I don't think it's from anxiety. I think it's just I kind of feed off other people's energy.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. All right. And then love languages. Have you done the love languages test? Gifts. All right.
I like stuff.
You just know
Buy
straight
me
away.
Stuff. Yeah, I have done the test, the online test. Yeah. I'm trying to think what the second one was, because I know the first one was gifts. I know they rate them. What's yours?
My top one is physical touch.
Okay.
And then it's words of affirmation.
Is it words of affirmation?
Yeah.
You like words, not action. How funny.
Well, the physical touch is the action part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay. Fine. Yeah.
And that rates really high. And I remember when I like if I get a tap on the shoulder, like from my boss, that means way more to me than like 8 emails and a little certificate up on a wall and like a big shout out in front of everyone. So basically,
your boss doesn't need to give you thousands in bonuses. No, all he needs to do is tap you on the back.
Yeah.
Okay, make sure your boss is listening to that, because that will he'll be like, "Well, hey,
that's an easy employee."
Yeah, saving on the company budget this year.
Yeah, I mean, I work for myself predominantly, but I do have a little part-time job, and then that's what I could do too. But but even just a hug, like it's just so if I haven't seen a friend for a while, so I've got a friend, right? Love him to bits. He's out in, shout out to Neil. He's out in Australia.
Neil. We love you.
And I probably haven't hugged the guy in like, I don't know, 10 years. I haven't seen him for a long time, but we're on the phone, etc.
Yeah.
But one hug from him is going to be like, you know. So I'm well. Anyway, there's
You got to get over to
I've got to
Australia
get
to
over
see
to
Neil.
it. Well, he might come. He might come
Could
here.
you meet in the middle? Where's the middle?
Dubai?
Sea somewhere, isn't it? Dubai. It could be.
No, it's all
My
about the
geography's
hugs.
awful.
But that's me. I'm talking about you. Gifts, right? I've got you a gift, actually.
Have you? What have you got me?
Yeah,
You gave me hot chocolate
It's
earlier.
a journal.
Yes. Where's my journal?
Here's your journal.
Here it is, the Courage Journal. This,
Yeah.
honestly, I was looking through this earlier and I love it. I want to give it to clients. I want a few.
Yeah,
few.
absolutely. Well, this is your one. And there's
thank
a
you.
paperback over there, and it comes in a hardback version as
Because
well.
this will be like coffee tables. It will look beautiful on there. But it's also, you know, we were talking earlier, weren't we, about CBT, and this is not CBT, but it's got some really fantastic questions to just get you thinking. And I think, again, you know, look, we all know it. The more we focus on what we're grateful for, the more we get stuff that we're grateful for, because our positive energy emits out and pulls in that stuff because it's a high frequency.
Yeah.
And this just gives wonderful reminders about list down 3 things that you're grateful for.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, instead of getting your TikTok going, scrolling, get this out and just do a few questions on it on the tube.
Yeah.
I think I love the fact that it's in real life as opposed to something, you know, that you bring up on your screen that's not an app.
Yeah.
Because, you know, once I'm on an app, that's it. I'm on Instagram.
Yep.
I'm on emails. I'm on WhatsApp. I'm messaging people I don't need to message. You know, this, I'm away from my phone.
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, really good.
And it was designed to be like that as well, because the nap was the natural way forward.
Yeah.
But, and 3 guys worked on this. 2 of us have had anxiety and understand, you know, how dark that can be. And another one, his sister had it quite badly, and so he could see it from the other side of things on how to support someone in that way as well. So yeah, it's got a lot of intentionality behind it. Yeah. So as a gift for you, you can have the hardback or the paperback.
Can I have both?
You can. She loves her
Can I
gifts.
have both?
She loves the gifts.
I like both.
You can have both. You can have
this
both.
plant as well. Is that a gift? It's
Can't
not
take my
real.
All right, don't give it all away.
It is real. It's very green.
It's so green. I watered it like 3 years ago. It's amazing. But yeah, if you are on TikTok, if you are listening to this as an Instagram reel or something like that, just give it a rest. Pick up one of these journals. It's available. Hey, it's available in the UK.
Yes.
In the US, Canada, and Australia.
Mr. Worldwide.
Well, yeah. I mean, thank you, Amazon, because Amazon goes into those places.
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
it's quite
yeah.
easy to get hold of.
They go everywhere now. I feel like Amazon going to Mongolia.
Probably do. They're probably out
With the
on the
robot.
moon. They're probably on the moon. Yeah.
They're like, moon, no problem. Next day, next day delivery.
Get a can of Coke and an Amazon delivery delivered to.
All wrapped up in
Because they
lots of
say that
wrapping.
about Coke. They say you can get Coke pretty much anywhere in the world. It's like the most.
Shit, in the North Pole.
Wouldn't be surprised.
In a hut.
Probably like Coke ice
Probably get a little Airbnb hut in the North Pole somewhere and start ordering Coke.
with a
Coca-Cola.
vending machine. All right, let's move on.
Very small world we live in now.
What's a common? It doesn't have to be common, but what's a misunderstanding that someone might have about you?
That I'm maybe not deep.
That you're maybe not deep.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Less so.
I mean,
less
we
so
wue
of
one
late.
question in, and we were like straight into it.
Yeah. You were like, what's your favorite color? I was like, I'm spiritual. Yeah, I'd say it's I'm deep. She's not very deep.
She's not very deep.
Surface level.
That
level.
London college fashion.
Yeah,
person.
yeah. Maybe
Okay.
maybe an assumption on that basis.
Interesting.
Kind of doesn't affect me at all though, because I know who I am.
Okay, that's good. And do you feel like that? Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's something you've had to work on? Right. Okay. Elaborate.
I don't even know if I can take credit for this one for working on it. To a level, yes. But I actually just feel like going through the years, I've been less bothered.
Yeah.
Less about being less bothered, more bothered about other things. I'm like, I'm just not going to be bothered. Okay. Like me, don't like me.
Yeah.
It's not natural for everyone to like everyone. And I think, you know, a lot of us get into these like people pleasing mentalities and things like that. And it's like if you people please, you can't actually have real connections with people because you're too worried about what they think of you and keeping them happy. So you're not being your true authentic self, and you can't have a connection with someone if you're not your authentic self.
Yeah, I agree. Totally
The
agree.
other person feels it anyway, but you just can't, and you kind of isolate yourself.
There's like this veil between you.
Yeah.
And you both know it's
Yeah.
there, But if you're not authentic,
it's a bit like if you're never vulnerable with anyone,
Right,
you
yeah.
can't, because friendships strengthen in those moments of vulnerability, and your friend can kind of go, she is human. She has had shit happen to her. They don't want you to have shit happen to you, but
Yeah.
it's life, and like you being open and honest and vulnerable, you know, I'm not necessarily saying all the time, every time, but at times really, really strengthens your bond with that person.
Yeah, I totally agree. What is courage? What does courage mean to Anna?
Ooh. For me, it means going after what you want.
Okay.
I think it means going after what you want and believing in yourself. Self-belief is a huge one.
Yeah.
Because if you have self-belief, whatever stones, boulders are in the road unexpectedly, you'll be all right. You'll figure a way around and you'll cope.
Yeah, I like
and you
that.
won't fall apart. So I think figuring out what you want. We live in a world, we live in, you know, particularly this country, the UK, like we are fortunate in that we can make our dreams come true, really. You know, we do have a privileged country to live in and a lot of opportunity available to us. And I think it's defining what you want, and also what you want can change. You know, I'm not who I was at 18. I'm probably not who I'm going to be at 50. So that can change and that's all right. But it's that journey and it's figuring out in that moment in time what you want. And as long as you're not harming someone or other people or animals, figure out what you want and go for it. And don't settle.
Don't settle.
Don't settle.
Yeah, I mean, that takes some courage.
Because it's easier to settle.
Yeah.
In a career, in a relationship.
Yeah.
In a house.
Yeah. Even in your belief system, right?
In your belief system. Yeah.
It's quite common to go, I believe this. Why? I don't know, because that's what everyone does.
Yeah.
It's like,
and a lot of us put things at our identity level. Oh, well, that's just me. It's like, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You know, you can change it. It's not a limb. You can change those you don't want to, but it's not a limb. Like you can change it.
Yeah. So going back to the first part, knowing what you want, asking for what you want, going for what you want.
Yeah.
Courageous.
Moving forward. Yeah.
I think even in that is, you know, I can already hear the voices. Oh, that's so selfish. Like going for what you want. What about other people? You know, you can start to hear these fear-based voices from your past, maybe, or even in the present, depends who you hang with.
Narcissism and things like that. Yeah.
All that kind of thing.
I think, look, again, context is everything.
Absolutely.
As it always is. And I think I don't mean treading over people and all of this stuff, because that's not, that doesn't feel good either. You know, it's not good for your soul to do that.
Absolutely.
So figuring out a way to kind of be who you want to be, get where you want to get to. And again, that doesn't have to be a physical place or a career move or a relationship. It could be internal. It's what that means for you. Working on the things that you need to create the life that you want to live. I think that takes courage.
Yeah.
A lot of courage. And I think a lot of the time as well, look, if we're in a really bad situation with work or a relationship, I feel like those are almost the easier times where it's like, I'm going to jump out because it's so bad, I can't stay in, the decision is made.
Yeah.
But it's almost like that slow tick, tick, tick of it just being mundane or not. Just not what you want in your heart.
Yeah, sure.
And those are the times where it's harder to leave. And I think for me, that's courage.
Yeah, totally get that. What do you think are good traits of masculinity, and have we as a society ruined its meaning? So good traits, let's tackle first, maybe.
Very topical. Good traits of being a healthy masculine. Communication. That's got to be my number one.
Okay.
Being able to communicate. And that leads me on to being able to tune into how you feel and because I think a lot of men from upbringing are told to mask things with anger. Not all guys, that's not fair, But I think traditionally a lot of guys were told to, oh, you feel sad? Oh, no, mask it with anger. Oh, you feel shame? Mask it with anger. Anger is a much more motivational emotion. We feel empowered when we're angry. Oh, you're fucking angry, man. Like we feel like we're like, oh yeah, I'm entitled, I'm angry. Where it's like hurt, shame, depression. It's like, where do I go with that? I'm not empowered by anything.
Wow.
And it maybe leads into, you know, men need purpose, don't they? Particularly men as opposed to women, I think.
I think you're right.
I think need, like, they have to have purpose. And I don't mean that has to be a highfalutin career. That could be a passion. That could, but it's a calling. And I think it really, really is so important for men. And I think, again, healthy masculinity, one cornerstone of that is having purpose that you really, really, really believe in.
I agree.
And I think when you are able to express your emotions, it's doing so in a way that you're still quite sort of like upright and in touch with yourself, but it's done, and this is maybe a fine, you know, quite a bit of a challenge, but maybe done in a way where it's like they're upset, but they're showing it in a very masculine way. Because I think the difficult thing for men, particularly when they're in a romantic relationship, is I think women get scared when a man cries. And they're like, oh my God, he's crying. I'm going to have to be the strong one, blah, blah, blah. So I definitely think we as females need to kind of look at what being a healthy masculine is. And if we're asking for something, we need to be able to accept it.
Love that. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head in that last part, because we look at mothers being able to hold their child, especially mothers and sons, right?
Yeah.
So when a son is a little bit upset, got an issue, mum comes with that safe space, right? I mean, in a healthy environment.
Yeah.
And then that young boy is able to say, Mum, I feel like this, I feel like that. But something happens when that little boy becomes an adult. He's still looking for that same stuff, but what he's getting from women, partners, etc. is, like you said, you know, I don't know what to do with this. Like, you're supposed to be strong. God, you're showing weakness.
He's not strong. I can't trust him. I can't rely on him. I can't lean on him. He hasn't got broad shoulders. I can't do this. Yeah. And it's like, well, we also need to, if we're asking for him to be more in touch with his emotions and better communication comes from that. This stuff is all linked.
Yep, absolutely.
You want him to be able to communicate with you and share how he feels. You need to allow him the space to, if he wants to cry, if he wants to say, you know, whatever is on his mind, it needs to be a judgment-free space where you can just remove any sense of like ego and like, I need him to be strong, redefine what we believe to mean strong, And I think he'll then feel like he can be what we're asking for. So yeah,
I agree, because I think if we go back to anger, anger is associated with strength. I'm not saying it should be historically, but it's like, okay, he's angry, that's showing strength.
He's gonna stop punching someone.
He's tough, he's whatever. But actually, if we look at that, if we look at anger, and I think anger has a place, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't just disqualify anger as an emotion ever, but I think anger, it's a sign of weakness. It's when you've got to the edge of yourself and you don't know what else to do, that you step into that emotional state, you know?
Yeah, well, it's the fight or flight, right? It's the fight.
Exactly, it's the fight. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, definitely. And so it is about looking at what masculinity is. And I love that you said communication. I think you're the first person who said that, actually.
Yeah.
It's really, really strong. Because if you are able to communicate, it's the iceberg at the top of this really deep mountain, because you've got to do so much stuff to get to that level of being able to communicate well anyway, right? You've got to have your emotions in check. You've got to make sure.
Speaks to the bigger picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does. And when I say emotions in check, I don't mean you have to have it all together, but you have to know.
Emotional regulation.
Regulation, yeah. See, look, psychotherapist words, yeah. But yeah, I really like that. Really like that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and also it's like if you work on your communication skills and you can convey what you need, you don't need to go to fists. You don't need to go to anger. And I know men don't always go to physical fists. What I mean is, metaphorically, you don't need to go to anger, which can then turn into like avoidance. I'm just going to go down the pub. I'm just going to leave, slam the door. I'm gone. I'm out. Well, you're not.
Or worse, the other way around. Like, you know, And of course, it's the worst way possible, but where there is physical abuse and things like that,
Yeah,
men don't know how to regulate themselves, and they choose things that are, not helpful for anyone.
Yeah. Agree.
Okay. All right. I really like that, because you've highlighted something that we can actually work on as men.
Yeah. Yeah. Communication.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Even just that alone.
Huge. Okay.
Healthy,
and then
masculine man
as a psychotherapist as well, when men come to you, they have to communicate, right?
They do.
Otherwise, if they sit there like this.
They do. And many do in the beginning. But, the ones who come to me, they have made, then they're there on their own free will. So they've made that decision.
Yeah.
But, a lot of the time it is an unnatural thing for them to do. But as they kind of continue going through sessions, it's much more, the shoulders go, release, and it's much more like free flowing and things like that. And, and I often say to guys, particularly single guys, like, it is such a turn on, for women, or like women you're dating, or put it on your profile if you feel comfortable doing so. Actively working on myself, or I'm in therapy. It really is like, because someone who isn't working on themselves or isn't in therapy, it doesn't mean they don't need it. It's probably the opposite. So at least if you've got someone who is actively doing that, they are actively moving towards like being a better version of themselves for their sake, and then their partner's sake as well.
That growth mindset.
It's an attractive quality in a man. But again, I'm biased because I'm a psychotherapist, but talking to my girlfriends, like, it is an attractive quality in a man. It really is. Yeah,
I'm smiling because someone asked me recently, "Oh, what's your type? What do you go for? When you go out dating, or when, you're looking for a partner and all that kind of stuff." And I said, "Oh, what it used to be was this, right? But actually what it is now is show me your therapy receipts, and then maybe you'll have a chance."
Your therapy receipts.
Because then I know you're working on yourself. You're not, and it's in alignment with what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Because if someone's got enough self-awareness to say, I'm not the bee's knees, and actually I need to work on myself, that's a really great sign of like, okay, there's real good high level emotional intelligence going on here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, your daily practices, and your therapy receipts, like you say. But it's those nuances as well. Like it's the compound effect, isn't it? It's like what your daily practices are, how you kind of structure your relationships and your day, and diet, exercise, passion, and all of these things. And I think therapy kind of ties in nicely with that. And I'm seeing more people now not just coming to therapy when they're at crisis point.
Right, yeah.
That's still, a large percentage, but there's a lot of people coming when they're just like, I just want to optimize. It's like the way in which we optimize our diet or our sleep or our gym routine. Like, I just want to optimize my own mental health. Yeah. It's good, but it could be better.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Because a whole bunch of people go to the gym in January, right?
Yeah.
Because like I'm feeling a bit overweight, or I'm feeling like I haven't got enough energy, so I'm going to go to the gym, and it dies out by February, right?
Oh yeah.
And then it's crisis management, like you said. But actually, if you're able to go to the gym consistently, and I say go to the gym, I mean, some people don't go to the gym, they go for a run, whatever.
Their gym, their gym, their exercise.
And the same thing up here as well. Yeah. Like that's your mental gym, isn't it? Let's go and expand it. Let's go and train it. Let's go and take that step forward. So,
definitely.
Okay. I have a question which is personal to you. Is there something in your life that you felt that, okay, I've got to take this real brave step to get through, that you'd like to share?
Yeah. Okay. So mine would be a couple of examples, but one was I was in a relationship where I was engaged to the guy, and it was a 6-year relationship, and he was at the time like the love of my life, and I certainly thought I would be with him forever, and I had all of these like fantasies about that and everything. And then I found out that he'd been unfaithful, and my whole world kind of crashed, and I rebuilt, I guess, myself at 32. I was kind of like at an age where I was like ready to have kids and settle down and all of that, and then it all came out that everything that I thought was true wasn't true. So that was a very difficult time, but I feel like the way in which I don't want to say bounced back, but I think the way in which I kind of like pulled myself out of a very difficult situation gave me a lot of courage in who I am as a person and what I can do. And it's like it's shaped me a lot in the last couple of years, like what I'm about. And, you know, I don't think, well, look, I hope I'm never in that position again, but if I am, I know I will cope. And for me, before that situation happened, that would have been absolutely abhorrent to me that anything like that would happen. I never would have thought I'd be able to cope with anything of that nature, but I kind of proved to myself that I could. Was it comfortable and nice? Of course it wasn't.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of change that happened in that time and growth? Yeah, there was. Am I the same person that I was then? No. I think I'm a better person. I think I'm more me.
Right.
But that would be an act of, I guess, courage that springs to mind.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, amazing, not that it happened.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, and I'm purely coming from the perspective of someone else who might have experienced the same thing, were there any sort of key moments in that where you felt, I am completely in the dark here, not about what happened, but in terms of, I'm in this place, my whole world's been ripped up, you know, I need to take a step forward and rebuild, or I need to move forward with some kind of sense of hope. Was there anything that you would share with people who maybe are going through that or have been through that and not quite come out the other side?
Yeah, I would certainly say it's not about like holding on to negative events that happened and holding on to the past only hurts you. When we're so tightly wrapped up on like, he did me wrong and I'm going to hold on to that anger. The guy's off doing whatever, you know, we're hurting ourselves. And it's just because you release that doesn't mean you forgive him. But for your own sake, you have to release it's like you have to fully close the door in order for another window to open.
Right.
And that window won't open. And that could be any window. That could be a new step in a career, a new house, a new relationship, whatever, a new opportunity in some form. Sure. But that window won't open until you let the baggage of the past go. Right. Does it mean that I never think about what happened and like the time we had together? No, of course not. I do, but it doesn't consume me. Once it starts consuming you, it's you're in a difficult situation.
Okay. I noticed you didn't use the word forgiveness there. You kind of used the word release.
Yeah.
Is there a big difference between the two?
I think maybe forgiveness could be triggering for people. And I don't want to give the illusion that like, you know, I forgive you for that. Because it's not, in my eyes, it's not forgivable. But moving forward and moving on, releasing the hurt is really important for that. And I don't think you can move forward and move on without releasing hurt. Carrying it around is heavy, right? It's a heavy emotion.
Yeah and you know, the realization that actually you holding on to it is because they say unforgiveness is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die, right?
Yeah.
So you holding on to the trauma of that is only doing yourself harm, not the other guy. So releasing it is kind of what I'm getting from you, is a big part of the process. If someone's listening, to go, oh, I'm going to hold on to that forever, but it's actually what can we do? What can you talk through? What can you do in terms of healing? Maybe there's a spiritual practice. Maybe there's, you know, something physical that you can do in order to release that trauma from your body. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah. And there's lots of different, you know, we're in an age now where there's lots of different therapeutic practices available to us. And it's a bit like, what's your preference of exercise? You might like swimming. I might like boxing. I don't, but I might. I'm like
lifting sofas and now she's talking about boxing.
No, God, who is this woman? Wild. But it's like, it's like the same with therapy. Like, you know, someone might like CBT, someone might like Reiki and energy work, someone might like Theta healing, someone might like psychodynamic work. There's all different flavors. So it's like, if you try one and you don't like it, keep going, because it's a bit like, you know, if I tried rowing and I didn't like it, I wouldn't give up on all exercise. Exercise just isn't for me. No, you just don't like rowing. Try riding or, you know,
makes sense.
boxing.
Or the boxing
again.
Okay, thank you for that. And sorry that you had to go through that.
I appreciate it.
Lessons, I guess.
Lessons,
that come out of that.
Lessons.
Yeah. Suffering produces character, right? And character produces hope.
Oh, I've not heard that. I like that.
It's from scripture.
Character produces hope.
Yeah. I'll send it to you afterwards.
Yeah.
It's a really good, it's from a piece of scripture, but it's really powerful.
No, it is. Yeah.
Really, really powerful. We're talking about scripture, talking about religion. Religion and spirituality, would you see them as different?
Trying to think about that one now.
Yeah, you know me with the light questions.
Yeah, gosh, religion and spirituality. I would say that they are different, but I would say that there's a massive crossover for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like religion can be I don't know how to word it. Maybe a bit more kind of rules and regulations and structure. Well, this is what we do, because of this manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel spirituality is a little bit more fluid than that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's me off the hoof, just thinking about it now, having never thought about it before.
Where's your theological?
Yeah, none. That's where.
Yeah.
That's where.
Yeah.
But there's people far better placed to make that, to answer that question. But that's just my personal take on it. Yeah. I think spirituality is a bit more individual, and I think it's about our upward connection to the universe, which some synonymous, I guess, with God. And some people, I think, call the universe or the creator or source God. For me, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit like the energy and the souls that make up our solar system and beyond.
Right.
Whereas sometimes I feel God being kind of like one person. I don't know, not person, but overarching. All right, I'm getting tongue-tied now. Can we move on?
Well, I'll throw some stuff into the arena there. I think that the term God.
Yeah.
You think of Santa Claus. Sorry. I'm
going
that you've
somewhere. Just gone God and then Santa Claus.
I'm going somewhere.
You've got
Santa
my attention.
And you think of him with his red suit on.
Yeah, his beard.
And all the rest of it, right? And so the only reason he wears a red suit is because Coca-Cola came along and they made it red and it was green before and all that kind of stuff. But and that's exactly where I'm going with this. And I think God has been branded into this man on a throne who sits there with his his grey beard and his Michelangelo finger that touches the little
his Gandalf beard,
absolute Gandalf beard and all the rest of it. But actually,
it's been branded, hasn't it?
It has been branded, and so for me, when I think of God, and it's really hard to put into words, but I think of an intelligent designer, which we cannot comprehend or fathom what that looks like.
No,
and so we create these images that make sense to us as human beings that are based on what's familiar to us.
Yeah.
So what could be more familiar to us than a man or a woman figure? Because that's how we interact with other human beings, right? So when I think about God, I think like some of these superhero movies now where you see, different sort of realms and like all these colors and all this kind of, I think God is beyond all of that. So I think it's really difficult to sit there and say God is a man who sits on a throne. But that is language that makes sense to a lot of people. And I think that's where religion gets born, because then everyone subscribes to something or an idea of something that's created, but isn't quite real or isn't quite truthful, should I say that. And what I really like about... Well, I'm gonna bring up Jesus, right? So Jesus comes, and the story, whether it's mythology to some people, whether it's real, whatever, the idea is to connect to the Creator through the Spirit. And it's a really interesting concept, whichever way you look at it, is we're talking about connecting to source through spirit. And the only way we can do that is through what would be known as the Holy Ghost or the Holy Spirit or whatever language that you would use. But you can only do it through experience. You can't do it through just reading a book or reading, manuscript scriptures and things like that. It has to be a combination of things of this and this and this, together and connecting with your soul. So I think it's really interesting because even if we look, I'm talking about Christianity just because that's my background, but like Jesus comes to abolish religion, and that's really interesting because religion gets termed as dogmatic views or man-made structures of trying to explain a cosmic being that we, let's be honest, even all collectively, we can't really quite get a grip on, you know, which is why I think it's so beautiful to talk to different people with different experiences, because I believe that we're all an expression of that, you know, we're all one huge expression of creativity, if that makes sense.
It does. No, I love that. That's put really beautifully. And I think some people, from what I've seen, sometimes fall into the trap of being like, well, I'm religious because they want to maybe like be going to heaven, but they're not, you know, they're kind of like dipping in and out of it, where it's not, and absolutely not everyone. That's, you know, this is just some people. But I think spirituality is a little bit more of an embodiment than that, and a bit more fluid. It's not necessarily like, right, okay, you've got to be spiritual, otherwise you won't go to, you know, you won't go to heaven and all of these things. But it's about connecting to something greater than ourselves, and having that real belief that there is something else out there that has our back, and that, you know, it wants us to do well.
The positive side.
But we also have free will.
Absolutely.
So it's like, it wants everyone to do well, but if we don't listen to it, then we don't listen to the guidance, you know. So certainly crossover between the two.
Absolutely.
You put it really nicely.
I mean, it's a conversation, isn't it?
As well, yeah.
And I think when you think of, and I'm going away from Christianity, just like religion generally, there's a lot of, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, which ties into what you were talking about earlier on. You know, when you say, you know, I can't eat the chocolate. Well, you didn't say the chocolate cake, but whatever it was.
The gluten. You can't eat the gluten. What do you want? Gluten. So of course, exactly. Like it's creating. And also when we, you know, cognitively, when we fixate on what we don't want, guess what? We tend to get what we don't want, because the brain negates the not. It just sees the chocolate bar, or whatever that is.
And if we can dance into all the little topics that we've been through, even if you look at, if you don't mind me saying, that experience that you had with your ex-fiance, if your brain is in that place of, he did this, that's literally where you're going to be stuck at all the time. So it is about moving away from that and feeding yourself with, actually, my life could look like this, which, beautifully put, you said, was what you thought courage was, you know, to go and get what you want, you know. And why would we go and get what we want based on things that we don't want?
Yeah. And listening to your own voice as well. It's lovely to have the guidance of like friends and family, but Gandalf the Great. But ultimately, like, we know ourselves, like we know us. Don't forget that, because people all have their own maps of the world, their own traumas that they've been through, their own childhood, their own this, their own that. Even without any traumas, just the way in which they are, the way in which they experience the world is different to ours. So take their advice, yes, but not at the expense of your own, because that's number one.
Oh, I like that. That's deep. Yeah. Because we look for advice, or we say we're looking for advice, but what we want is reassurance.
We want certainty.
We want certainty.
I'm making the right decision.
But actually, if we look at each other as guides, maybe, or people with different experiences that might have a little nugget of information that's useful to my journey, then great.
And tuning into your own intuition, because we're taught, I think, particularly in the Western world from an early age, to shun your intuition. Like at school, they don't really say follow your intuition, follow your gut. And it is more than just saying it. It is a practice, because a lot of the time we can mistake our intuition for fear. Fear will always be stronger than your intuition, and it serves a purpose, because it's there to keep you safe. So if we can work on our fear, is this actually a fear, or is this just my ego holding on to something? Then our intuition will strengthen, because that will move to the side. We'll be able to see our intuition, which is our third eye here in the middle of your eyebrows. That will strengthen, and that will show you what is right.
Powerful. I feel like we've got to really great places in this conversation.
We have. We've covered the world, I think.
We have, yeah. Well, there's a few other things, but you'll have to come back. And we'll uncover some other stuff as well. So that'd be good. In all of what we've talked about,
level up.
What would you say would be one or two things that they could walk away with and say, you know what, I'm going to start doing this, or at least I'm going to start to think about this?
Yeah. I think pattern interrupt is a really sort of good one that you can start putting into practice literally from now. So have some goals in mind, internal, external. When you see yourself doing a behavior that you don't like, when you're cognizant of that behavior, Now, this can be things like smoking, drinking, scrolling, talking to people that you aren't good for you. Just catch yourself. It usually takes 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And ask yourself, is this what I want to be doing right now? And is this going towards the future that I want to create for myself?
Okay.
And if the answer is no, refocus onto something else that is. The answer doesn't always have to be no. Sometimes you might want to be doing that thing, but just be aware of it and ask yourself that question. And, is this going towards the future that I want to create for myself? That's a big one. Because it is these details in our lives that we do, and it's the compound effect that shapes where we're going, and what we're going to get, and what we're going to become.
So disrupt the pattern.
Yeah, disrupt the old pattern, create a new pattern. First time you do it, it will be hard. Second time, slightly easier, like anything, and then it gets easier as you go along.
It's like picking up a dumbbell and then picking up a sofa at the end of it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. A few weeks in, you're picking up sofas, throwing them around all over the place. It's great.
Anna, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, you too.
If people wanted to find you and wanted to, tap into some of your services, can you tell us a little bit about them and where they could find you?
Definitely. So I offer one-to-one sessions. I also do group therapy, and I regularly host workshops as well on retreats or various locations. Best way to contact me is on my Instagram, which is at Anna Psychotherapist. I've also got my website, which is annajacksontherapy.com, and you'll find details of how to contact me on there. I also run a therapy membership program as well, which incorporates a lot about what we've been talking about today, but it uses traditional psychology combined with Theta healing, so an energy practice, to get you onto the path of where you want to be. We can tackle anxiety, depression, OCD, addiction, eating disorders, all of them. And you get regular support as well. So that's something that the feedback has been really good about. You also get access to my bi-monthly workshops, which are on a different psychology topic. And you get regular one-to-one therapy sessions as well, either in person or remote.
Amazing. Incredible. And if they mention Go Encourage, you'll give them a high five as well.
I absolutely will. Yeah.
Theta healing. If we want to know more about Theta healing, and I actually do, you're going to have to come back and talk about it a little bit.
I'll come back.
That'd be really good.
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Well, if you've listened to this today and you have any questions, you can DM me directly, or you can DM Anna as well. And there'll be links in the description to that. So feel free. Anna's kindly said that she would respond back if you have any questions around the services that she provides. Absolutely. And whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, if you're living in fear, our message to you today is to take a step forward and go in courage. I'll see you on the next one. Hey, really hope you enjoyed that episode, and I hope there was something there that you can take away and reflect on. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can do so publicly on YouTube via the comments, or if you prefer to be more private, you can DM me on Instagram, and the handle is @GoEncourage. You can also find links to everything at the website, which is www.goencourage.com. You can find a copy of the Courage Journal, links to TikTok, Instagram, and all the places that you can find Go Encourage online. You can also have a look at the upcoming Go Encourage blog, which is coming soon. So yeah, definitely do check that out. But my encouragement to you is whatever you're doing, whatever you're going through, keep moving forward and to go encourage. I'll see you on the next episode.